Okay, hello there. Hello there. Thank you for joining. And if you cannot join, I know that things happen. It's like around lunchtime for most of us. But if not, the recording is going to be available. I will try to post it on my YouTube channel and have a link available. But I am super excited about today's conversation that I'm going to have with Marcel. Was gave me the honor of being a guest on my podcast, and I will actually put the link also in the event notes. But she is fascinated with the brain, and I think like somehow that fascination rubbed off on me a bit, and now I'm just so curious about the brain just because of the connection that brain fog specifically and focus has when it comes to blood sugar. And I'm going to let her introduce herself and talk a little bit about that. Like, why is it that people that deal with that blood sugar imbalance, right? Like those spikes. And if you have been following me, you know that I mention that a lot. What is the connection between that and brain fog and focus?
Yeah, well, hey everyone. Thanks so much for coming. Thanks so much for inviting me, Jenny. My name is Marcelle Siegel, and I'm a neuroscientist, interdisciplinary neuroscientist with MA and PhD. And I love the brain so much that I started a company to help people with their brain health. And okay, so let's talk about that crash, right? So we've all felt that crash in the afternoon, maybe at 2. I tend to get it at 3 p.m. And maybe you're reaching for a coffee. Maybe you're reaching for, some chocolate, some sugar. I used to reach for like snacks and stuff that weren't good for me because I didn't know. And maybe you stared at an email for 10 minutes and you couldn't write anything. You were getting foggy. So much of that brain fog is related to our blood sugar. Our brain is just a small part of our body, but it uses 20% of the energy that we bring in. So it's like an energy hog. It needs a lot of energy because it does so many things. So it makes sense that it would then be exquisitely sensitive to our blood sugar. And so we need to keep our blood sugar more stable when we have those spikes and then we have the falls and we put too much sugar in our body and then it helps us crash more. And then we get stressed out, we can't think very well. Then our cortisol goes high and it messes up our inflammation and our blood sugar even more. They've called Alzheimer's now diabetes 3,
Type
right? The
3.
third type of
Yes.
diabetes, because we know so much now about how blood sugar affects our brain. So,
Yeah, that is amazing. And that's why I share on my social media and I share with my clients, and like the one thing, even when I have clarity calls, even if you decide not to pursue like coaching or anything like that, I just tell them jokingly, do not eat carbs naked. Just
yeah,
because when you eat the protein and the fiber and the fat, that alone will help you stabilize that blood sugar. And that's how you see the difference, right? And it's not about carbs are bad or anything like that. It's not even about taking a food group and saying it's wrong, but more about how you combine, how you nurture your body, how do you build those meals and even those snacks, and how it impacts your brain. Because a lot of people think that, oh, I need to have diabetes or pre-diabetes to worry about blood sugar. And I'm like, well, we all have to manage that blood sugar.
yeah,
And without the diagnosis, it impacts your brain. Like we already heard it, like your focus, your staring, your it's not going to help you be efficient and thrive in your career, which we all want to, right? Like thrive in our careers and be efficient with our time. And
yeah.
having that focus and not having that brain fog is important. Now, I have a funny story, and that's why I want Marcel to talk a little bit about that. And is she was part of my podcast episode. It's actually 54, episode 54 and a half. Don't ask. For some reason, I wanted to title it like that. But, and I will put the link. And towards the end, we chatted about what is your morning routine. And she mentioned mushroom coffee. And I was like, okay. Then I heard a fellow health coach saying, oh, I love mushroom coffee. And I'm like, And I love coffee, regular coffee. I drink my coffee in the morning. So I was curious about that. I went and ordered one that somebody said, "Oh, this one is good." And then one day I realized that I ran out of coffee and I had no coffee. And that's what I had. And I tested it. And I felt that my brain was sharper. I was like, oh, wait a minute. There must be some science behind this. And that's what motivated this whole thing of bringing Marcel over. So
Yeah. And
please
didn't you say
share.
like you were
Share
stuck in
about
a
the benefits of mushroom coffee and adaptogenics. And I know that there's a lot of theories out there, but please bring some light to it.
yeah, and didn't you say too that you were stuck in a snowstorm, so like you couldn't
Yeah.
get more
So it was
coffee?
during
I
the
think that's
snowstorm, and I'm like,
yeah,
okay, what do I do? And all I was thinking, when you are used to having coffee and then all of a sudden you don't have it, you tend to have like that withdrawal, that headache. Well, but the mushroom coffee did the work and I didn't feel that. And that was surprising to me because I was
yeah,
expecting that headache. And I'm
yeah.
like, okay, what am I gonna do? I don't know. But it did work. And that made me even more puzzled about, okay, is there real science or is it one of those trendy things that people are doing? And I wanted to bring the expert.
Yeah, so it's totally real science. It's so exciting. And I think a mushroom coffee is just kind of such a fun way to get your mushrooms into you, right? So we could eat the real mushrooms, right? So I'll go to the farmer's market sometimes and buy those lion's mane. They're beautiful, they're white, they have these like little indentations that kind of look like a brain, I think. So I think they're one of the coolest mushrooms because they look like a brain. Drinking coffee with mushrooms, functional mushrooms, it's an easy way to get it into your system. And it's also great because a lot of us drink too much coffee. We have too much caffeine, too much reliance on that. And it's a great way to, if you're trying to reduce that, it's also a great way to kind of reduce your caffeine intake because mushroom coffee usually has a little bit less caffeine than regular coffee. And then it has other things like these wonderful adaptogens that helps you not have that like jittery feeling. So
Mhm.
sometimes people who drink coffee will, get a little more anxious or they'll get a little more of the jitters. I love to drink green tea too. Like I'm drinking this. I don't know if you can see it. It might look kind of funny. Kind of
Yep.
a green loose leaf tea here that I love because it gives me kind of a more of a. It's got theanine in it. It's got kind of a easy balance. But there's so many great mushrooms. So like one of them, I mentioned lion's mane. Lion's mane is just a superstar for cognition. It's it does two really cool things in your brain. One of them is that it stimulates NGF or nerve growth factor. So it actually tells your neurons to start growing. So how amazing is that?
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the other thing that it does is it stimulates BDNF, which is brain derived neurotrophic factor. So it's another thing that helps stimulate your neurons. You can also get BDNF through exercise and through movement. And so
Okay.
that's why, that's one of the big reasons why movement is super important when you're trying to take care of your brain health because it releases BDNF.
Okay.
But you get some through lion's mane. It also has some really cool compounds that show measurable improvements in memory, measurable improvements in cognitive function in, really good research. It's not just a placebo, it's the biochemistry of how it works. There's a study, for example, that shows that if you take mushrooms and you regularly eat mushrooms, you have a 50% lower incidence of biocognitive impairment. So 50% is like a huge, huge number. That's mild impairment means like when you start getting a little bit impaired. So it's like huge brain fog,
Mhm.
but mild cognitive impairment. You're not quite at the dementia level, but you're heading towards dementia.
Okay.
And so that is also just one of those really cool results that shows um, that mushrooms are good for you. So lion's mane is one of my favorite ones because it's so good for your cognition. But there's so many mushrooms and they do so many different things. It would take us a long time to talk about it. I can give you
Okay.
like another example if you want.
Sure.
Um,
Or if they're because I know that there are many and I did some research and I'm like, wow, this is like amazing. So many.
yeah.
And I know that lion's mane was like one of the main ones. Is there another one that has been highly like research that you can say, okay, like there are some that we're not quite sure yet, but these are the ones that we do have some solid evidence, right? Like lion's mane. Is there
Yeah.
any other that you would like to mention?
Yeah, so I would talk about chaga. I've been taking chaga since like before mushrooms were a popular thing. Chaga is super, super high in antioxidants. And so it's just like one of the best foods on the planet for antioxidants. And so that means that it will help reduce your inflammation. And we know that oxidative stress and inflammation happens when we have insulin resistance and we have too much blood sugar happening, but it also can drive insulin resistance. So it can, if you have too much oxidative stress, that can push your insulin resistance further. So reducing that really makes a huge difference. And chaga is one of those things that super anti-inflammatory, and it also has some studies that show that it can help with your blood sugar as well. So those are probably a little less, well documented, but there's some new research on that. A lot of them now, they're studying the mushrooms for how well they affect blood sugar.
Mhm.
Reishi is another one. Reishi is really good at lowering fasting glucose in diabetic subjects.
Okay. Yeah, I read about
Um,
that. It was so interesting.
yeah.
I'm fascinated by this. I think I may need to bring you to my podcast again. But
Yeah, that would be.
this is fascinating, definitely fascinating. And now, on contrast, I have a webinar that I am offering tomorrow, and I'm going to talk about sugar and
Yeah.
why there is some sort of addictive properties to sugar, and how sugars are different, right? Because it's not the same as natural sugars, that added sugars, and then we have the sugar alcohols. But what would you say, in a short statement, in terms of the impact of sugar with the brain and the attention?
It's huge. It's huge, 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 huge. So one thing that I find with my clients is like that attention, that focus, that brain fog issue. It is one of the easiest things though that we can change. And one super easy way that we could change it is through blood sugar. So
Mhm.
keeping our blood sugar more balanced throughout the day is just one of the easiest things we can do to help our focus, to help our cognition, to help our brain work the way it's supposed to.
Okay, amazing, amazing. So I will definitely put also the link, and you still have time to register. It's going to be tomorrow at noon Eastern Standard Time. But Marcella, I know that there is an event that you have. If you want to share a little bit about that, that would be amazing so
Yeah.
people know.
So, one thing that happens a lot when we have blood sugar issues is we lose our energy, right? So, we're going to do a burnout workshop next week. This one is a paid workshop. It's going to be like a really super awesome event with three of us. There's going to be three women who really get it. We really get what it's like to be burnt out in your career, burnt out in your life. And it's going to be both an inspiring session to get you aligned to improve your life, as well as nervous system science. So I'll be bringing in some nervous system science to help you understand why you might be low energy and some easy nervous system tools you can use to to help you feel better and bring your energy up easily. So
Absolutely. And
that's
that is
going
one thing that a lot of my clients complain, right?
yeah.
Like, and sometimes that brain fog and that energy, that's why I bring so much awareness. You don't need to wait until it's a pre-diabetes or a type 2 diabetes diagnosis to know that this dysregulation is impacting you, it's impacting your life. So if you want to have that energy, not feel like you need to push through, and that is so tied with burnout, because burnout is pretty much just trying to push through and push through even though the energy is not there. So balancing your blood sugar and maybe exploring incorporating mushroom coffee like I did, and I was pleasantly surprised. And now sometimes in the afternoon, since it's a bit milder in terms of the caffeine, now sometimes when I want that warm cup, I gravitate towards that. So it was an amazing realization out of pure, I'm stuck at home with a snowstorm and no coffee, that
Yeah.
I discovered this, and I'm so glad that it happened. Um, Anything that you want to share now that we are concluding? Anything that you would like to, or even a suggestion?
I have a
Because I
couple
know
of
I did look at a lot of and I kind of picked one based on what a fellow health coach kind of like suggested, but I didn't know which one was supposed to be good or not. I'm like, okay, I'm at a loss here. So if you have any suggestions, and I'll make sure that I'll put the link as well in the comments. But yeah.
Yeah, totally. There's so many good ones out there. So I would say that there's more than we could talk about that are really good. I just brought a couple of examples of ones that I use. So Four Sigmatic is a really good brand. This is called
Okay.
Think Organic Coffee. And it's
Oh,
so great. It has lion's mane and chaga in it and
okay.
helps you with mental focus and energy. This is one I've used for a long time. This is one that I just started using. It's a new company called Everyday Dose. And I
Okay.
really like the effect it had on me. So I wanted to give them a shout out. It has collagen in it, L-theanine, which is in green tea, and it gives you that kind of stable, calm energy, as well as chaga and lion's mane and some other things. It's got great amino acid profile in it, which is really important for your cellular function. So this one, they have some great deals and stuff. And so this was a fun one that I tried recently that I really liked the effect it had on me. And then I was going to mention a couple more. Atlas is a tea company I use. They have great loose leaf tea, and they
Mhm.
also sell wonderful coffees. And then you can also go to your farmer's market and get some real mushrooms or some things like this. This is a new product I'm seeing at farmers markets now where it's lion's mane salt. So they
Oh,
took,
that's
and this one has
interesting.
shiitake in it too. It has a little like great flavor to it. You can
Okay.
sprinkle it on your food. And so it's another way of easily getting some extra mushrooms into your body.
And getting
So
that umami flavor, right? Like the
yeah,
mushrooms have, it will give them a little something to your food.
yeah,
Amazing. This was such a great conversation. What I would say on my end, and I don't know if you have like a last minute like thing for people to explore, but what I would say is don't eat carbs naked. And when that 3 p.m. hit, make sure that whatever you're grabbing, at least it has some sort of protein and some sort of good fats. So if you want something sweet, grab a piece of fruit, grab a handful of nuts, and that pretty much has some fiber, it has some fat, it has the complex carbs, and it's going to give you more energy than if you go for that stale donut that's been sitting in the office probably since the morning, or maybe the cookies that probably you're going, or even some granola bars that not all are great. You have to look at the label, but I would say don't eat carbs naked. That would be like my one thing. If there's anything that you can take away, that would be one thing. Now, Marcel.
that is a wonderful one. I totally agree with that one. It's so good for you, so good for your brain. Let's see, I didn't come with one thing, so I will just say taking care of your brain is so important, and there's so many things that you can do. And if you are experiencing mental health issues, if you're experiencing stress, if you've got any like kind of chronic inflammation going on, I specialize in neuroinflammation, and there's not a lot of people that do. So I'm happy to help you, whether it's a short challenge, a little free thing that we're doing, a big talk, or a big one to one program where we really do some precise science to help you optimize your brain. I would love to help you out.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for your time. Feel free to message us if you have any questions about anything that we discuss here.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
make sure I put the link for the podcast and the link also for some of even the mushroom coffees that you mentioned. I'm going to try to link them there for people to have the reference. And
great.
also, Marcel, I will put the link for your event for next week as well as my webinar. And feel free to reach out and explore mushroom coffee. You may be surprised. I was surprised with the taste and I was surprised
Oh,
with how I felt. So, if that is something that maybe you're trying to transition off even the caffeine or reduce or modify, it may be a good thing to explore. Have an amazing rest of your week.
thanks, Jenny. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.